before you go. I just want to take a moment to pray over President Mike Scales and over the administration. So if you could join me and extend your hands as we pray for them. Father, we praise you right now because you, as we sang, you are faithful in the midst of everything around us. You are faithful. You are good. And so we want to lift up President Scales and the entire administration to you. We know that this transition is good and that you have even better things in store for us on the other side of the river, but the transition is nonetheless difficult to navigate. But you have promised in your word that when we pass through the waters, they will not overtake us. And when we pass through the fire, we will not be burned. And so we lift them up to you with this promise. We pray that you would give him the peace to navigate the unexpected, the boldness to lead the pioneering.
Yes. And
we pray that you would give him the strength to persevere throughout all of this. And we pray this in your son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Well, everyone, good to see all of you this morning. It's bittersweet to bittersweet to be up here because I was reminiscing while I was preparing and realizing that 4 years ago, November 2015, I preached my first sermon at Nike, and then now this could possibly be the last sermon at this campus. So it's bittersweet. So this has been great while it has lasted. And on that note, I want to share something with you. Last time I preached on the Juggernaut season and how the importance of grieving things. And for any of you who are upset at me for coming down your lane, the Lord also came down my lane. And so I went back and grieved and practiced what I preached. And things came up and I had to grieve them and process them. And as I was grieving, however, I realized that I was still frustrated with God. And there were some things that I hadn't fully expected to come up. And in this frustration, I wrote a poem to express what I was feeling. And I want to share this poem with you. And I hope that it blesses you in some way. Here I am again. But where are you? Playing hide and seek with me, but why are you hiding from me? You said, ask and I'll receive, and I'll find you if I seek you, but how can I seek you if I can't even see you? My eyes are burning from the sandstorm you kicked in my face, walking blind through the desert. Is this what you call walk by faith? You said I'd have living water, but I get an ocean of sand, so excuse me if I say that I don't understand. I'm honestly aggravated, pissed, heated, and agitated, and I wonder, why is it that when I pray, you don't say a word to me? But then you speak when someone says, Manny, will you pray for me? And so I'm confused, and I have no idea what to do or what's up with you. And you say, there's fullness of joy in your presence, but instead of your presence, I get gift-wrapped emptiness. When I was single, it was worse because I wanted to eat box instead of being a Pringle. And now I'm asking myself back then, what was the point of waiting when dating becomes carbon dating and your profile has my patience fossilized, and I'm waiting in 60 minutes of silence for 7 seconds in heaven, but with the click of a button, heaven could be in my bed, and now it's way past 11. Will you come at the last second? But no, because with the budget shot from the ages, but no, because the last time you pulled a Jordan was on these dusty old pages, so I'm tired of seeking you. I'm tired of believing you. You put me on the bench, but call me your star player, give you wholehearted devotion for half-answered prayers. You give me enough to feel guilty about being ungrateful, but not enough to feel good about calling you faithful. So I'm tired of these drip-drop promises that taste like lies because they keep me alive long enough to realize I may be in this desert till the day I die. So why do you do this? You were there for everyone in the Bible, splitting Red Seas and talking through donkeys, so why don't you talk to me? You had Peter walking on water, but I'm drowning in silence. Moses talked to you face to face, and I got to go on faith. Came down and blinded Paul, but you don't show yourself to me at all. So I'm tired. but I miss you. I miss tasting your presence early in the morning. I miss crying out to you until I weep. I miss praying till I fall asleep. And I was wrong before. You do show yourself to me. So I'll take these drip-drop promises over the world's promises, because I'd rather be in a desert with you that I don't understand, because a paradise without you is like a paradise with no hands, and I'll keep seeking you as much as it hurts. If it takes my whole life, so be it. You're worth it. So I shared that poem because I realized while I was processing everything that I was frustrated with God. And I was frustrated because it felt like I had been in this spiritual desert with him for a long time, where over the years I felt less and less of his presence, less and less frequently. And not only spiritually, but I realized that my passion for things had slowly dwindled, where things I used to enjoy no longer felt enjoyable. And I was wondering, where was this coming from? When did this desert start? So it's story time. When I was in college, I was on the track team. And contrary to popular belief, I was not a pastoral ministry major when I was a student at Nye College, because contrary to popular belief, I was not a student at Nye College. And so I just wanted to take care of that rumor that was not a thing. So I went to a state school, and I was on the track team, and I was obsessed with track. Track was life. Like, I was obsessed with being as fast as humanly possible. So I'm on this team. School was Division I, so things were like, the training was like intense. Like, the coach's goal literally wanted the athletes to throw up, and he would film the athletes when they would throw. I'm not sure if this was legal, but this is what he would do. And so we had 5 a.m. practices, lifting in the afternoons, and I was all for it. Like, I'm here, I want to be as fast. I'm like, I want to be like pre-Usain Bolt, like this was before him. So I'm like, I'm obsessed with this. But to make a long story short, there was an issue first semester, and I wasn't cleared with the NCAA clearinghouse. And so coach was like, sorry, you can't practice with us. And I was like, all right, that's fine. Send me the workouts, and I'll work out on my own. So I worked out on my own. Next semester, had a problem with the registrar. And for some reason, a class fell through, and now I was a part-time student, and part-time students couldn't compete. And so again, I was off the team. But I kept working out on my own. So I worked out spring semester, spring break, worked out through the summer. So a whole year, like, working out on my own to be on this team. Like, I'm at the best shape of my life. I'm out here looking like Spider-Man, like ready to blast off. And the season comes in, right? I'm training, got my gear, and a couple of weeks before the season, the first meet, I go on a retreat with InterVarsity, the Christian fellowship I was with at the time. And we're at this retreat, and the preacher is preaching out of Mark chapter 1, and where Jesus calls his first disciples, and he's like, leave your nets and follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men. And the preacher's like, what is that net that you need to leave behind? The thing that you think is more important than God. And distinctly, I felt the Lord say to me, your net is track. You need, exactly. I want you to quit the team. It's become an idol. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, first of all, like, there's so many Christians who are on teams and they're fine. You're not asking nobody else to quit. Like, why is it me? And he's like, they can prioritize, Emmanuel. You cannot. So you need to quit the team. I was like, all right. And so eventually, I realized that he was right, because it really had become a problem. I was out here fantasizing about workouts in the middle of worship. Like, I really was obsessed with this thing. And so I realized it had become an idol, so I had to step down. And so when I quit, this is when things got weird, because I had thought that I could take the passion that I had for track and then redirect it to God. Except that didn't happen. I had thought that the same way I felt physical, tangible results when I was training, I would also get physical, tangible results when I was seeking God. But that didn't happen. Instead, what began was 10 years of feeling less and less of God's presence, less and less frequently, and it felt like a desert. And so eventually I had to ask myself these questions, like, is it because I didn't grieve track enough? Like, is there another layer to this onion that I need to peel back and cry over? Like, did the track cause the desert, or did the desert cause track? Like chicken or the egg? Like, what's going on? And as I processed it more, looking back through my old journals, I realized that around the time the desert started, I started praying some weird prayers. Started asking God things like, God, I want you to be more real to me than anything else in my life. And apparently, God seems to have taken that prayer very seriously. And see, his will was fine, like that, I would know him, but it was his way that was the issue. Because the way that he gets his things done is oftentimes very difficult. And that's what I want to talk about today. What do you do when it feels like God is not speaking to you? And I want to glean some lessons from the life of Abraham. So in Genesis chapter 12, God says this to Abraham. Now the Lord said to Abram, go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. And I will make of you a great nation. And I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So God tells Abraham, I want you to leave your home country where you're comfortable, and I want you to go to another country that I'm not going to tell you about yet. Just hop in an Uber and just keep driving, and then we'll move from there. And so that's kind of how I felt like with track, when God told me to quit, and then he's like, I got something better for you. And then I left, and then it felt like that something better didn't come. And sometimes, some of you may be in that situation now where God asked you to do something, to let go of something that you love because he had something better for you. So you did it. And now you're waiting. And you're waiting. And you're waiting. And it's this awkward transitional period where it's not here yet, but I did what you asked. So what's good? What's going on? And what happens, what I thought is interesting about Abraham's story is that the bulk of his story happens between Genesis 12 and Genesis 18. And it looks like when we read through it that God is speaking on the regular, he speaks every chapter or every other chapter. But when you really look at the timeline, these 6 chapters take place over a period of 24 years. Abraham gets the first call when he's 75, and then he's 99 when Isaac is born. Now, during that 24-year period, God only speaks 4 times, which means if we break it down mathematically, Abraham probably had a period at least once where God doesn't speak for 6 years or more. So imagine for yourself for a second, God speaks to you very clearly and says, I want you to come to Nile College. You come to Nile College, then he doesn't speak again. No prophetic words from anybody. You come to chapel, people pray for you. I got nothing. Come to Freedom Prayer, we got nothing. Go to Wonder, go to me, and we got nothing. I'm sorry. Nothing. You go to small groups, you don't feel nothing. In worship, you don't feel nothing. You're reading the word, nothing. Your whole time in undergrad, and God doesn't speak until 2 years in seminary. And he's like, oh, by the way, so like I was saying before, now that you got your bachelor, and you're like, where were you? This whole time? Where have you been? That's what it must have been, 6 years of silence. What would you do if God didn't speak to you at all for 6 years? This is what Abraham did. Eventually, he goes to Canaan and he starts visiting different countries and goes around the world in 80 days kind of thing. And then he decides to go to Egypt, and he's there with Sarah, and he has that awkward sister zone scandal with her where he's like, we're going to Egypt, and the Egyptians really like their women, so you're a really fine looking 65, 7-year-old woman, so what we're going to do is, I don't want them to know that you're my wife so that they'll kill me and then try to take you, so instead, you're going to be my sister, because then they won't try to take you, because that's God code 101, so now we'll be cool. And now, we hear this, and oftentimes we give Abraham a bad rap, because it's he didn't trust God, he didn't have faith at that moment. But we don't know how much time has passed between the first call and this scandal. He could have been waiting for those 6 years and heard nothing. And maybe he's thinking, I heard God the first time, but it's been 6 years. Like, I don't know if God has changed his mind. I don't know if the promise is still valid. I don't know what's going on. There's nothing. I'm praying and I just get silent. So I don't know what to do. So I just got to do what I got to do. And he makes a decision. And sometimes we might find ourselves in those situations. Some of you know my testimony. When I was in high school, I was addicted to porn. Ironically, after God delivered me, a little while later, that's when the desert started. So, first couple of years, things are cool, I'm doing good. But then like year 3, year 4, year 5, I'm like, yo, I'm feeling really low. Like, you said I'd have joy, there's no joy. You said I'd have passion, there's no passion. And I just feel numb. I feel really empty. I feel nothing. At least when I was watching porn, I felt something. And so I would start backsliding because I just wanted to feel something. I was tired of waiting in silence. And sometimes it's in this desert, in this silence where God doesn't speak, that we make dumb decisions, where you did what God asked and nothing's happening, and then you start telling yourself, well, maybe I might as well just go back to what my old lifestyle was. I might as well entertain this person that I know isn't good for me. I might as well just, forget this whole Christianity thing because obviously God's not working. But I want you to know something. What you do when God stops speaking to you reveals what's really inside of you. I want to say that again. What you do when God stops speaking to you reveals what's really inside of you. Because what better way to make someone thirsty than to throw them in a desert? What better way to make someone chase you than to run away from them? And it's in the midst of this desert that God has taught me the importance of seeking him, even when I don't feel it. And another thing that has been interesting to me in Abraham's story is that at the end of it all, Abraham doesn't even get what God promised him. Like that always blew my mind. Like God said, I'm going to make your children a nation. And he doesn't even see it. Like ladies, imagine if your crush, like your guy that you're dating, comes to you and says, I'm going to propose to you. And then years go by. And he never does. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. He's like, I promised this. And you don't see it. Like how he doesn't get it. But he still seeks God. Like the Bible still says at the end of his life that Abraham was blessed in all things. Like he was still blessed even though he didn't see the promise fulfilled in his life. And yet he still persevered and still sought God. Because Abraham seems to have learned that God is worth seeking even when you don't see the prayers answered. He's still good regardless. And for me, I had to learn that even though I had put track down because it was an idol, God had to show me, Emmanuel, if you can't do anything without your passion, then your passion now has become another God. And like Pastor Mike likes to say, God will not resource your idolatry. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, I'm not going to just download passion into you again. I'm going to teach you how to seek me even when you don't feel it. I'm going to teach you how to do things that I've called you to do even when the passion is no longer there. And he also had to teach me in this desert the importance of intimacy with him. That I started noticing when I went back to my old journals that a weird pattern I did was, now that I felt that I couldn't feel God, I started thinking, well, maybe he's disappointed in me. So I started saying, well, I'm going to do this, that, and the third. I'm going to do this in the ministry, and maybe God would be proud of me. And they would just fail, left and right, spectacularly. And I started learning eventually that God seemed to be trying to teach me that you are more than what you do. You have been relating to me as your master, as your coach who trains you, but you don't know me as your father. And in order to know me as your father, I have to show you that you're more than what you do. And to show you that, I have to remove the passion for what you do. So that now you have no choice but to sit and be my son. And it's been in this desert that I've learned how to be intimate with God, and I've learned to seek Him even just for Him, not for the things that He gives. And just like in Abraham's life where God spoke like every so often, it wasn't like a continuous stream of presence. In my life, I've seen that God will come like every few months or every few years even, and when those moments come, like I'm able to savor them and realize that this was worth waiting for. That even though it took this long, like you are still worth the wait, you are still worth seeking. And I want to encourage all of you with this today. I don't have fancy 3 points or Christian platitude to give you if you're frustrated with God. But I do have a clip that I want to show you, because this clip from a movie encapsulated how I really feel in the desert and how many of you may feel right now in the desert. And so I hope that this clip blesses you. So play the clip.
Go fishing?
Not yet, when I go.
Well, maybe I don't want to go. You ever think of that?
No karate training.
I'm what? I'm being damn slaves when I'm being, man. Now, we made a deal here. So you're supposed to teach and I'm supposed to learn, remember? For 4 days, every what? Thing.
Plenty.
I learned plenty. I learned how to sand your decks, make a wax your car, paint your house, paint your fence. I learned plenty, right?
And not everything is as seen.
Oh, dude, I'm going home, man.
Daniel-san! Daniel-san!
What?
Come here. Show me sand floor.
I can't move my arm, all right? What are you doing? What are you... Ow! Ow, what are you doing?
Now show me sand floor.
How did you do that?
Shut up!
Second floor.
Stand up. Show me sand floor. Sand floor. Sand floor. Big sand. Sand floor. Sand floor. Yes. Now show me wax on, wax off. Hey.
Wax on, wax off.
Wax on, wax off. Wax on, hat. Wax off. Hat. Concentrate. Look at my eye. Like a hand. Thumb inside. Wax on, hat. Wax off, hat. Wax on, hat. Wax off, hat. Wax on. Wax off. Show me paint the face. Up, down. Up, down, up, down. Other side. Look eye, always look eye. Show me paint the house, side, side. Lock wrist, side, 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 side. Yes. Show me wax on, wax off. Dad! 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 Show me interface. Dad! 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 Show me side to side. Dad! 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 Show me sand on floor. Dad! 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 Yes. Stop! Hey, look, I always look, I come back tomorrow.
So to close, I want to encourage you, if you feel frustrated with God, I want you to know you may have felt that this has been a waste of time, but God has been training you this whole time. You may think that you have learned nothing, but in fact, you've learned everything. You may think that nothing has changed, but in fact, you have changed. And so if you would like prayer, the prayer team will be up front. But God bless you. We are dismissed.